Hey, it's ArcSecond. In this video, I'll cover the best Dyna build for Season 13. So I've come to pretty much all of the same conclusions that I came to last season, but they reintroduced Roa into the game, which used to be her best starting item, followed by Nash and Deathcap. So I had to test out all of those builds, but I'm still going back to mostly the same build that we're running last season. But let's start off with the things that we know about Dyna. So after the rework, they changed her from being a scaling champion to an early game champion. She has really bad ratios now. They cut her passive in half. Then they increased it by 10%, but it's still only at 0.5 now. Well, champions like Echo have like a 0.9 AP ratio on their passive. And then obviously her E, which was her R, is a much lower ratio. W has like a health ratio now and lower AP ratio, longer cooldown. So Dyna is really bad in the late game, so you really don't want to play for that too much anymore. And so the best early game, but we're actually okay with that too because the games are shorter now. You can even FF at 15 with just 4 people voting yes. And so it actually kind of works out okay. But we'll start off with the runes, and we know that Shield, this is the best rune page for Diana because Resolve is just insanely good on melee champions, and Shield Bash is really good on Diana. This can deal up to 700 damage, like 600 damage a game, and you're getting the resist, and it's good early. Same thing with second one. These are just some of the most efficient runes for laning. And then obviously tie that in with Scorch and Absolute Focus. Absolute Focus also has the added benefit of being able to, it's the only way she can 2Q the range creeps at level 5, which is really big for her. And then you still need mana on Diana. And like we mentioned, Roa doesn't actually work anymore. It's actually still an okay item, but going Mana Flip Band with the other health mythics, either Rocket Belt or Night Harvester, which we'll get into later, definitely seems to be the better option. Also, Phase Rush pairs really nicely with Shield Bash because you can actually trade with it. The problem if you go Electrocute, which is what a lot of people do, is Sudden Impact is a 0 unless you go in. In Eyeball Collection, these bottom 2 rows are zeros as well, unless you've already gotten a kill, which runes are all about early game and like setting you up to help get you help you get kills, not the other way around. And so these are really inefficient early. And like we just talked about, we're not trying to scale with Diana. These are scaling runes, and you won't be able to carry with these late game anyways. You can snowball in some matchups early. Like these can help you get a lead because if you can commit with sudden impact and get the electrocute and get this all in pretty early into lane, like especially like level 2 or something, there are like you can snowball with this page. But it's not consistent, and it's really a gamble, and it's basically relying on the enemy to be playing bad versus just using the optimal and most efficient early game setup, which is definitely Phase Rush. Then there's also Conquer, but Conquer is more of a jungle thing, and even it's even less efficient than Electrocute, because Electrocute at least you have that level 2 power spike that I was talking about, or even level 3. Conquer is too slow for mid lane, and again, you're not really playing to scale. Also, it's kind of hard to round out the build for a Conquer setup in mid lane. And so, yeah, this is the best rune page. So, and then how we tie it into items, like we mentioned, we go either the difference between Rocket Belt and Night Harvester is, so Rocket Belt's really good with, here we have some of our older items, with any keystone that's not Phase Rush. Phase Rush and Rocket Belt do not synergize well together. Night Harvester synergizes a lot better, and yeah, just with how the proc works. And you get the haste over the pen, which I actually prefer, and you get a little bit of extra health, which is also good on Dyna. What's funny too is and yeah, so we rock Night Harvester first, and then so before you used to go Nash. The thing with Nash has actually not really been our best item in any build. In jungle, there was one build that was Rocket Belt into Hourglass. That was the top rank 1 jungle build for a bit, and then it became Demonic into like Jack Show or Hourglass after that. It's actually none of the top builds have ever included Nash, and again, it's just because their passive is so weak. Even with Conquer and Jungle, you can run it, like you can run Nash into Jack Show, but I don't think it's very good. I don't think Nash is even a Dyna anymore, which is kind of unfortunate, but again, we're not really playing to scale, and we still can't lane against bruisers that well, which is another part of why any of those Conquer setups don't really work as well, is because you're laning against bruisers a lot of time in the side lane. And yeah, Nash won't, you still won't be able to outpace them. If they go Wits End, Nash will always lose to Wits End. So we grab the first item, Night Harvester, and then the other thing we know is Hourglass is 100% Dyna's most core item now. It synergizes perfectly with her ultimate. It synergizes. It's just always been one of her best items, and she doesn't scale with AP anymore, so it's like the easiest choice. And most comps now are like we also mentioned are like 3 AD, and you're landing against AD champs later in the sideline anyways, and dealing with AD junglers. If they are like really heavy AP, then your options still for boots are either you go Merc Treads, or we'll go into the next core item, which is kind of new, is Banshees. Because before the build used to be Roa, Nash, Deathcap, but to get MR you'd go and then you grab Hourglass. Because a lot of the comps back in the day were AP tank tops and AP mids, so that worked out really well. And you go Merc Treads. But now all the comps, it's like really hard also to deal with damage without pen boots. And so you have to go pen boots pretty much, plus Night Harvester Hourglass, but then you're missing a Mar at this point. And also with the Mythic system, it's really good to keep these efficient, like cheaper items. And it synergizes really well with Phase Rush. So you can basically do your whole combo, and you're most likely, this setup gives you the most likely chance of getting a good ult off, getting a good trade. And it just synergizes all really well together and tries to close out the game because you're trying to win the game with Diana now before 20 minutes. Like she does anything past 20 minutes, you're really like until 25 you still have a chance, but after that it's pretty much doomed. And then so our last items to stick out, like if it gets to that point you have gold or you just have a ton of gold at like 20 minutes, are Void Staff and Deathcap. If they have no MR, you can still go Deathcap fourth. Most of the time you get Void fourth though. Put the two options for boots. And yeah, and then we grab the Void Staff. And that pretty much rounds out that. And then for summoner spells, TB got nerfed too many times. It used to be a really good item, and then Electrocute's also kind of always been a little bit better than TP sometimes early. So we've just been running Ignite for summoner spells. Ignite Flash. What are we missing? Void Staff's 2700 now. Or no, I think they actually moved it. 28, sorry. But yeah, so this is pretty much our full build. It's really efficient early. This is when you try to win the game. And these have always just been the, like, it's still basically the same thing. So instead of Nash, you're getting, yeah, instead of Merc Treads Nash, you're going Banshees, Pen Boots. And you just have better spikes this way. And yeah, that pretty much covers the entire build. Let me know how you do with it, and thank you for watching.